You have an iPhone. And if you don't, then you have an Android phone. These are the only types of phones we're talking about these days, and the competition between them is stronger than ever.
But which is actually better? Now, most reviewers stay away from this topic because it's kind of a difficult topic to talk about, or they say it comes down to personal preference. But is that true? Well, I'll be telling you which is objectively and subjectively better. First, let's talk about what they can both do, or their capabilities.
Phones are very, very advanced these days and can do a lot of smart things. I mean, they're called smartphones for a reason. And you'll probably be better off with an iPhone of today than with a computer from many years ago. But even with everything an iPhone can do today, it just can't compare with what even the simplest of Android phones can do. Want to be on Instagram while still watching a video on YouTube? Well, you can on Android, but not on iPhone. Want to see your notifications without your screen being on? Well, too bad if you're using an iPhone, but it's not really a big deal on Android. Want to really get into those notifications without actually opening them? Then just get your Android phone out and do it. But don't even bother trying on your iPhone. Long story short, name something an iPhone can do, and for the most part, Android phones can do it too. But there are many things Android phones can do that iPhones cannot do organically or at all. That's just the nature of Android. It's open to a whole lot of possibilities. It's literally an open source software, as opposed to iPhone, which is closed. Remember the app Flappy Bird, the original one? Now this app or this game was the craze for a bit, and people were hooked on it. I mean hooked. Like people were actually getting addicted to it. Literally and actually addicted. Because of that, the app developer actually decided to take it off the app stores because he felt it was ruining people's lives. So you couldn't download it from the app stores anymore. Both on Android and an iPhone. So if you had an iPhone and you already downloaded Flappy Bird, then yeah, you got to keep it. But if you deleted it or you just didn't have it downloaded yet, then that meant you would never get to play the hottest mobile game in the world at that moment. So what happened? People started selling iPhones with Flappy Bird installed for thousands of dollars on eBay.
And the craziest thing, other people were rushing to buy them. On Android though, all you needed to do if you wanted the Flappy Bird app still was to Google this exact phrase, download Flappy Bird APK.
Click one of the first two links, and then you download it, and you install it, and you have the game. Even if it was deleted from the Android App Store or the Play Store. In fact, at this very moment, if you have an Android phone, you can still get the original app right now. Just search the same phrase.
See, with Android, basically anything is possible. Now, this fact alone is and has been enough reason for people to pick their favorite Android phones over iPhones with no hesitation. And it makes perfect sense, of course. Who wants a phone that does less? Well, to be honest, that's not all there is to it. So let's talk about how well they actually do what they do, or their performance.
Now, you might not know this, but Apple really isn't the first to do anything. Maybe except taking away the headphone jack. But they do have a reputation for doing things well. Very well, actually.
Now, Android does do more than iPhones, but they both do most of the same things, you know? They both call, they both text, they both use most of the same apps, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, you get the point.
But when it comes down to how well they both handle these overlapping tasks, Android simply isn't quite as good and refined. iPhones just handle these better. They just work. If I was talking about this a couple years ago, the gap would be much bigger in favor of iPhones. But right now, it's actually very, very close. But performance in most apps and performance in general is slightly better on iPhones.
Now, if you've been using Android phones for the past, let's say, 5 years, and I'm talking the best of Androids, that's flagships, no mid-tier phones, then your phone has probably lagged on you multiple times. Your phone has probably had performance issues, even if they've been just minor, especially if you're a power user. Now, you might not agree with me because I know your Android phone runs amazingly all the time. And yeah, I'm sure it does. But even if you're using the smoothest of Android, and I'm talking stock Android, HTC, even OnePlus, you haven't experienced smooth. Believe me, you have not experienced proper smooth until you pick up the latest iPhone. And it's not up for discussion.
iPhones just work. And it really isn't a matter of power either. iPhones aren't like technologically superior and more powerful. It's more about optimization. And a perfect example of this is Snapchat. Now let's talk about the way they do what they do, or their style.
So imagine a guy just chilling over there using his iPhone. Another guy walks up to him like, hey, I have an iPhone too. And he's like, hey, let me iMessage you. And hey, they meet other people. Now there's an iMessage group chat. And now they're group FaceTiming. And now you join the friend group, but you have an Android. So now you're lonely because no one wants to text you and they're talking about your green text behind your back. That sucks. You see, now if that actually happens to you, then they're probably not your real friends anyways, and they're not very nice. But you wouldn't have had to find that out if you just got an iPhone though. Think about it. And if you were on the other side of things and you had an iPhone and some other guy had the Android, you probably isolate him too, so you're not very nice either. But imagine the other scenario. Someone's chilling with his Android, and you go over there and you're like, hey, I have an Android too. Okay? What are you gonna do? Rub your phones together until you guys become soulmates? Come on, stop. Stop being weird. Android just doesn't have that, you know?
There's nothing that really brings the Android community together. There's no proper exclusive feature you get just from owning an Android. iPhones can send SMS messages, use WhatsApp, Skype, Facebook, and even all of Google's social apps just like Android phones can. But Android cannot use iMessage. And they can't play the cool iMessage games or join in on the group FaceTime. I mean, I know Skype works, yeah, and there are plenty of other alternatives to these apps, yes, but it's just an exclusive thing. iPhones are just the in thing. You also don't have to worry about stuff like when you get updates or whatever, like you have to do on most Android phones. Apple does the worrying for you. If you have an iPhone, it just works. But here's the thing.
iPhones just work the way Apple wants them to work. If you happen to not like the way your Android phone looks or functions, then just go ahead and change it.
Use a completely live wallpaper if you want, or even a video. Put your apps wherever you like, customize your always on display, and change the theme of the entire interface. Blue text, green text, just have your text messages look however you want. Basically, make your phone yours.
You don't like the way your iPhone is? Well, it sucks to suck. I'm sorry, but you're gonna have to open your mouth and you're gonna have to eat what Apple feeds you. And you better like it, because it doesn't matter if you don't. Because of the way this is, sometimes it may feel like your iPhone is more of Apple's phone than your own.
But then again, Apple's phone does work really well with Apple's Watch, and with Apple's iPad, and with Apple's MacBook, and with Apple's ecosystem. So you can have a little bit of your phone in your laptop, and in your iPad, and in your watch, and everything's just connected and seamless. They work the way Apple wants them to work, yes.
But damn it, man, it just works. Because of the ecosystem, your phone gains a few companions and becomes more than just a phone. You just can't get this kind of interconnectivity on Android. So maybe you should buy an iPhone. But how much would it cost you?
Well, let's see the price for last year's top-notch iPhone, the iPhone XS Max. It was about $1,000 when it came out, and we can get it brand new for a little over $700 and refurbished for a little under $700. Okay, not bad. I mean, it's a little cheaper. Now let's look for last year's top-notch Android phone. I'm going to give it to the Samsung Galaxy Note 9. You know, if anything, it was just about the most expensive phone for Android, about the same price of the iPhone, right? $1,000. So Samsung Galaxy Note 9. Damn, okay. We can get it brand new for a little less than $500 and refurbished for a little less than $400. $300 and something for the Note 9.
That's a very, very good deal. And it actually applies to other Android phones as well. You can find Android phones that match the iPhones on paper, specs-wise, and in real-world use, camera, everything. And you see them going for like $400, $500 less. But even the flagships of Android, given enough time, will have their prices go down. It just doesn't happen with iPhones. So basically, iPhones are a worse buy, right? Well, yes, but also no. Let me tell you why.
Now, if I bought the iPhone for about $1,000 when it came out, and you went ahead and bought the Note 9 for about the same price when it came out, then the value of my phone would have dropped about $300. But the value of your phone would have dropped about $600. Maybe even close to $700. That kind of sucks for you, to be honest. And I'm sure it does for anyone who bought the Note 9 and is trying to sell it right now. But people who want to buy the Note 9 right now will be very, very happy because they're getting the ultimate deal. So there are two ways to look at pricing when it comes to Android versus iPhone. iPhones will be more expensive to buy and are generally worse deals, but they will hold their value better and can be sold later for a good price. Android phones are kind of like cars, you know? You buy it, drive off the lot, and it loses half its value. Why? Well, this is because in the Android world, there's a lot of competition. Apple is the only company to make iPhones, but thousands of Android phones are made all the time by different companies, and competition is fierce.
If you go to sleep right now, by the time you wake up, there'll be at least 3 new flagship Android phones. So you can get Android phones for cheaper, but they will lose their value very fast. iPhones, on the other hand, when you buy them, they are expensive, but they will stay expensive for most of their life cycle, so you can sell them for more of the price you want. So actually, when it comes to price, I wouldn't say there's an objective winner here. Now, with everything I've talked about taken into consideration, which is actually better, iPhone or Android? Now, to be fair, there's a bunch of fair arguments for both sides, but I said I was going to tell you which is better. So which is?
Well, I'll keep it simple. iPhones do a bunch of stuff, and the things they do great. And I can count on one hand the things they can do that Android can't. And these things really only involve Apple exclusive things like iMessage, FaceTime, Apple Watch use, and maneuvering the ecosystem. Now, Android can do things like these, just not in the exact Apple way. Apart from these exclusives though, Android can do all that iPhones can do, and they do them pretty well at the least. They don't do most of these things as well as iPhones, and they manage to do some better than iPhones, but they can sort of match and are around the same level when it comes to these tasks. Now, apart from these shared tasks they both do well, iPhone's a little better, Android can do a whole lot more stuff that iPhones just can't do organically or at all. And all this other stuff they do and iPhones don't, they do pretty well too. So if we take everything I've talked about and put it on paper and only focus on the objective things that have no much room for opinion and are more factual, then I'll have to say that objectively, Android is better than iPhone.
But I can't in good conscience tell you to go get an Android phone when I know that all you're going to be using your phone for is stuff iPhones will be better at, or vice versa. So if you're watching this video to find out which phone is better for you, then remember this. The phone that's better for you is not as much about the phone as you think. It's mostly about you.